It's an event that's been years in the making. This Sunday, the Boston Common will be home to 100 rare and classic cars for the first annual Boston Cup Car Show. It's free to the public, and all funds raised will benefit Boston Parks and Recreation. The brains behind this, Rich Doucette. He's worn a lot of hats over the years, but for the purpose of this event, Rich Doucette is simply a car guy. His first car was a 1959 Impala, but when he drove ad exec Jack Connor's BMW in the early 1970s, Rich says he discovered European handling. In the mid-90s, he helped create this Jetta Trek. Doucette says he got the inspiration for the Boston Cup from the MFA's Ralph Lauren exhibit and Ipswich's Castle Hill show. So this Sunday, the Boston Common will be dotted with 100 classic and vintage cars from Great Britain, France, Germany, Italy, and the U.S. Among them, this 1909 Cadillac and Jay Giles Ferrari. Also among the cars, my dad's 1966 British-made Sunbeam Tiger, which was recently restored. And Boston Cup co-founder and self-professed Mercedes enthusiast, Rich Doucette, is here. Welcome.
Thank you.
So you got 100 cars worth $35 million.
Right.
What are these things?
These are people's babies. It's funny, they bring them out for shows like this, which is very generous to show them the public. And there are cars that I'd never even seen before that have come out of the woodwork. And they're all within $495. Some are traveling from New York, some are coming up from Connecticut, but most of them are tucked away in garages in Wayland and in Weston and in Newton and even in Boston.
How did you find out about them? Like, I mean, Jay Giles, he's sort of been on the circuit, so. Yeah,
he shows his cars. He's a Ferrari guy. He has been for a long time, so he shows up at shows at Lars Anderson. He went down to Lime Rock with his car. It's a beautiful car. It's serviced locally, and we asked him if he'd come, and he said absolutely. He's looking forward to it.
And who else?
There are lots of folks that want to remain anonymous. Joe Freeman shows a car. He has a 1915 Duesenberg that raced at Indianapolis. It's a tank. It's beautiful, and if he can get it started, it'll be there. You know, when you ask somebody what their favorite car is, it's whichever one that starts, because they're old. So
yeah, and this is a rain or shine event, so people are going to be getting up, looking out the window.
Right.
And they don't come because mostly you got to have the top down.
You do. It would be helpful if it rained early, or rained late. But this is New England. I mean, I just went to a car show up in Stowe, Vermont. It's rain or shine, and it rained, but 600 cars still made the field. So, you know, the rare multi-million-dollar cars that have just been restored, that don't want to have the acid rain on them, I don't blame them for not coming out, or I won't blame them when they flee the field. But most of them will stay.
So, Rich, how did this happen to you? How did you become a car guy?
You know, it's funny, the first model car that I ever made was a gull-wing Mercedes, and I never saw one until 20 years ago.
You made a model?
I made a model when the kids had the glue, and so I made that model.
The gull-wing are the ones that open up like that.
Exactly, and it looks like a gull. And then years later I saw one, and, you know, like you said in the opening.
Hey, that's my design.
Is it?
No.
Well, they have a new gull-wing now. So if you take the Ralph Lauren show as an example, whether they run or not, some of these beautiful cars like the Delahaye, even if they didn't drive, they're works of art.
They are.
The lines are spectacular. You know, you can see the thought that went into them. They were all hand-built. They were flowing fenders. You know, and if you saw the Ralph Lauren show, which we all loved, and many people went many times, that wasn't his entire collection, but it was the most beautiful, because the Bugatti alone, my understanding, if I've got this right, is that it was one of three.
Yeah, what's that worth?
$35 million, if he would ever sell it. You know, they're unbelievable. And, you know, so Pebble is the pinnacle. So after the Castle Hill show and after the Ralph Lauren show, my friends and I, who are all car guys and gals, decided we'd try to stage it. And you know, 5, 6, 7 years later, we finally have the permit.
I know that you had it was a wrangle with the city. I mean, listen, you're taking over the Boston Commons.
Right.
It wasn't just like something that the mayor could just concede, but you're not charging for it, and
right.
you're giving back to the Parks and Recreation.
Exactly, yeah. I think it'll be good. I mean, they're programming the Common a lot more. You know, Shakespeare on the Common was there. I just saw that Teddy Cutler had just committed to do something with the arts. Yeah. I mean, it is our Common. I mean, I grew up in the suburbs, but I love Boston, and anything I can give back. I mean, there's a rebirth. You know, the downtown Boston area, now that that hole in the ground where Filene's was is going to be built up again, and I think it's time for a renaissance, and what better way to kick it off than with classic cars free to the public. Okay, so how do you judge this? I mean, they're all different vintages, genres. I mean, here's the Boston Cup right here, beautiful. Thank you. Who's the judge, and how do they decide? Well, in the first year, we'll be doing it by country. So there'll be 5 countries. Really? And the owners will self-judge. Really? So does my dad's car have a chance? We're going to take a look at it. We're going to cheat and show another. Yeah, I think it does. I mean, they're not looking at perfection. They're looking at originality and a great story, because people are interested in the story. There he is with 3 of his grandchildren. And that's his second English Bulldog, actually mine. That's Spencer, the English Bulldog. That was him watching somebody play tennis in front of him. He loved that car. That was after he bought a black top for that thing. He just got it at a junkyard and then never used it, and that's me after the thing was restored. But, you know, he bought that car new in 1966 and used it as his station car. And he would leave it at the station with the keys in it. That was his rule. He says the keys belong in the ignition. Well, the reason they do, if you have a convertible, is if they're going to steal your car, you don't want them to rip your top. Exactly. He had it all figured out. He only had one car stolen. That was out of our driveway. That was a Thunderbird, and the keys were in the ignition. He had a hard time explaining that one to the cops. Right. Well, there's a story behind every car. Every car that you will see there. Like that 1909 Cadillac? That is spectacular. That woman drove across the United States. No. Yeah. And she'll be there. In that car. There are people that go on 1,000-mile rallies with pre-1910 automobiles, and they obviously break down, and they have issues. But I mean, what kind of AAA do you call for that? You're kind of in trouble. Yeah. I mean, they don't have parts. But if you go back far enough, you had to carry your own wheels. You had to carry a mechanic and a navigator, and if something went wrong, you'd find a blacksmith or whatever, and you'd manufacture it. You'd figure out how to do it. I mean, it was American ingenuity. I mean, think about it. The automobile, you know, is America, Americana, so to speak. So we'll have cars from the early 1900s all the way up to brand new ones. I mean, there'll be a McLaren there that, you know, is a supercar. So hopefully there'll be something for every taste, you know, for your imagination. It'll be very colorful, and hopefully we'll do a good enough job to merit coming back the following year and for years to come. So do you have one of your cars in it? You've got a Mercedes. No, orange Mercedes. That's very unusual. Yeah, I can't. I don't make the cut. You know, unless somebody decides. That actually is my mechanic's Mercedes. And they're bringing many of them. So the mechanics, the guys that work on these classic cars, whether they be Ferraris or Mercedes or anything else, that's how we're sourcing the show. Because the mechanics know where the good cars are. You know, the new car dealers. That makes sense. Yeah, the new car dealers might service them. Yeah. But there are parts that they, you know, they don't train guys to work on 1955 Gullwings. That's true. There's no computerization. It's all by hearing and tinkering and being what I call a master mechanic. So okay, it's free. What time should people get there? It's 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. rain or shine on the Boston Common around the Parkman Bandstand, which is by Boylston Street in Tremont, up at the top of the hill. Oh, yeah, yeah. That's where the roundabout thing is. Right. And, you know, you can park in the Boston Common Garage, which is safe. There are plenty of places to go for food before, during, and after. We hope to have the award ceremony, weather permitting, at 2 p.m. And there'll also be electric vehicles, so please come by. Yeah, people are going to come and vote for me. My dad, I should say. All right, Rich Doucette, that was a lot of fun. Thanks a lot. Looking forward. All right, when we continue, Jared Bowen gets caught in the act.